And we have a little special surprise as we're going to end here, a segment that we're going to make regular here at the Football Room titled The Draft Tank. So the Draft Tank is going to be each week. One of us is going to be stepping in and giving us and you a big, bold take that they have on this NFL draft class. And then the other two of us are going to be able to decide if we're with it and we're buying in or if we're out on what this guy's trying to sell me and we're shutting the door in his face. James is a good sport, and he is recommended and he has put himself out there, and he's going to go first. So James is going to step into the draft tank for you guys, and we get to hear one of James Foster's big hot takes for this class.
All right. So my take, just give a brief spiel to set this up. Heading into the year, we're looking at the 5 positions on defense. Heading into the year, these were the top players at each position on the consensus board. At edge, we've got Leatu Latu out of UCLA. Defensive line, we've got Johnny Newton out of Illinois. Linebacker, we've got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out of Clemson. Cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. And safety, Cameron Kitchens out of Miami. My take is that none of those players will be the first player drafted at their position.
So let's go down the list one more time. So
Leatu Latu at edge, Johnny Newton at defensive line, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. at linebacker, Kool-Aid McKinstry at corner, and Cameron Kitchens at safety. And you gotta be all in. You're either with me or you're against me. You gotta be 5 for 5 on those.
Oh, okay. So that added a twist.
That makes it hot. I mean, that's where the heat comes from on this. I mean, I'll start by saying I don't think it's a crazy take, just because I think this defensive class is going to be hard to tell who's going where. Like, we don't even know when the first defensive player is going to come off in the first round. Like, there's so much offensive hype right now that do we see a defensive player taken in the top 8? I don't know. So going down the line, I mean, I think the least likely.
I mean, there's probably there's a couple that we could probably knock off as like givens that it's not going to happen. Like, what I would say is that I think there's almost no way Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the first linebacker, for example.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys might disagree.
I think you're right. I think linebacker is one that I would agree on. Corner, I definitely agree on. I would be shocked if Kool-Aid went first.
Yeah.
I think there's a better chance that Kool-Aid goes 5th than he goes first. I'm not the one in the draft take, so I'll hold back my hot takes right now. I think the one that really sells me off where I can't go 5 for 5 with you is safeties, because even though I think there are other safeties too, I mean, I think Kitchens playing that hybrid mold gives him the best shot to be the first safety off the board. Like, that hybrid type role is just so desired across the league. And then he wasn't even the safety that I felt like impressed me the most at the Senior Bowl, but every team that I talk to just thinks he's a seamless fit in that hybrid mold. Like, so many guys brought up the Gardner Johnson Eagles fit, and the Eagles being at the latter end of the first. Like, Kitchens was the guy that people kept saying to me at the Senior Bowl, if a safety is going to go round 1, it's going to be him. Like, and I don't know if I agree that should be the case, but that's what NFL reps are telling me. So because there's the stipulation that I have to agree to all 5, I guess I have to be out on James's take here. But it's an interesting one, and I definitely had to think about it.
And I'm glad you went first, Destin, because it gave me time to survey my thoughts. I'm actually buying in on this. And the reason why, the one I was concerned with was Leatu Latu. But with Latu, it's of course the medicals. That's the first part. But secondly, when you think about Jared Verse and then Dallas Turner being both more explosive, more dynamic, and much better athletes as well, the sub 33s is an issue for Latu also. I think that he could be 2nd, 3rd off the board. And so, yeah, I'm buying this. I'm going all 5. Kitchens had one of the more rougher weeks in Mobile when they put
agree.
him in man-to-man coverage. And for me, coming in, the safety one discussion hovered around. I know in the summer it was Kalen Bullock from USC. Was it? No, absolutely not. I like him, but he's
my first line in my
wiry,
Kalen
thin.
Bullock report is built like the cinnamon stick from the Apple Jack commercials.
Wow. All right.
If that's not on the screen, if that's not on the screen right now, we made a mistake. Whenever you guys are watching this,
that is a comparison. I was going to say he's a wiry, thin frame, James.
I gotta come up when you're like 30 safety reports deep. You got to come up with a different way of saying thin, wiry frame, slender build, undersized, needs to add weight.
He's shaped like a receiver. Like he's shaped like a receiver for me, and he's not a great tackler. Like you talking me in the last line of defense. Now I'm out on it. For me, it was Tyler Nubin. It was Tyler Nubin out of
wasn't
Minnesota.
At the Senior Bowl.
Right, he was not at the Senior Bowl, and then it was Cam Kinchins, and Tyler being the bigger, bigger frame, athletic. He can play that hybrid role as well, where you're talking about potentially matching up with tight ends, which is the biggest mismatch in the NFL. I don't think Kinchins offers that against tight ends, and I think he's going to struggle a little bit against some of the corners. But I still like Kinchins as a player. So for me, I'm buying with James in the draft tank. I'm buying all 5. I think there's a real shot that none of those guys are the first player off the board at their position.
Yeah, that should be a tweak though, James. Like with all the names, so we can come back to this, so you can bookmark it. Because the safety one, like I would take Nubin over him. I think you can drop Nubin back in single high at a higher rate than you can drop Kinchins. And like when I've gone back and forth on the two, like that's what has really pushed me towards Nubin. Is that
I could honestly see Jaden Hicks out of Washington State going over Kinchins, honestly. And like I think
I'm with you. It's just every team rep I talked to, man. Like, and I felt like Kinchins was struggling at the Senior Bowl.
He had a really tough week.
So that was definitely like on my mind all week. It's just every person I talk to just thinks he's a seamless fit. And whenever I started to hear that third person tell me that like if a safety has a chance to go round 1, it's Kinchins. And I was like, man, like I don't know if I would do it, but like that's just what is being said in the NFL world right now. And crazier things have happened other than Ricky Pearsall going in the 5th round.
Correct.